Welcome to Fully Aligned, where we explore the heart of business. Hi, I'm Joe Kiedinger, and with 25 years of researching how great businesses succeed, running several of my own businesses, and tripping a little bit along the way, this podcast is focused on the research and the results that are achieved by doing the right things at the right time, specifically for this day and age. So we'll dive into leadership, business culture, and growth strategies. So buckle up, let's get real as we become fully aligned. Hey everyone, I want to talk about the meta skill of the 21st century, the meta skill, the big one that if you're not focusing on can cost your company or your department tens of thousands of dollars, and depending how big you are, millions, and that is emotional intelligence training, also known as EQ, the emotional quotient versus the intelligent quotient. You're familiar with IQ. All right, IQ, studies have shown in psychology that you really can't grow your IQ. Like, basically, you have to have a certain amount of IQ to become a surgeon. You have to have a certain amount of IQ to become an author. You know, this type of thing. Basically, you can learn up to your IQ level. And we all have different IQ levels, and they're pretty much locked in. Hard to raise your IQ score or raise that. However, your emotional quotient, EQ, I prefer emotional intelligence, EI, they're the same thing. I think they're just trying to match the Qs, to be honest. That can grow as you go. That can grow as you go. You can learn emotional intelligence. And by the way, you're never done. Like, oh, I've arrived. No, you haven't. Like, you can get better. You can get better. But these stats are staggering that Jared looked up for us. So let me read you some of these stats on companies or leaders with high emotional intelligence. Let's see. They help increase employee retention. Matter of fact, employees are 4 times less likely to leave their employer if their leader has emotional intelligence, right? And we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's see. Higher success rate. Reports have shown 50% or 57% of high-performing employees exhibit control over their emotions. Let's see. Effective change management. They move 34% more smooth, faster through a change management process, because guess what? Chicken Little, the sky isn't falling. Let's work our way through this. They have superior communication. They provide empathetic feedback, and they take a proactive approach. Emotional intelligence. Now let's take a personal side on this. We do a whole education series for the everyday person called Thoughtfulness. For executives, we have communication mastery. And consider that in these programs we've done, we share research. And the research we have shown is in studies that have been done, people who have a good control on how they perceive life events live 60% longer than those who don't. Isn't that amazing? Or maybe it's 60% less likely to die by a certain age. Basically, let me bottom line it this way. There's enough research to tell you that your thoughts, if you don't control them, will become mental monsters. And you know what I'm talking about. These thoughts kill. They kill you. Negative thoughts lead to anxiety. Anxiety releases cortisol beyond belief. Cortisol is the hormone that gets released. It's the stress hormone that over time, if you sustain incoherence, meaning you are just like a nervous wreck, worry, guilt, fear, all these types of emotions, it will lead to heart disease, diabetes, premature death. I've done enough of the research. Look it up yourself. I think you can find that one pretty easy. You can Google it. I think you understand if we're going to use the term worried sick, like as an everyday commonality, we are worried sick. My mother used to say that. Oh, I'm just so worried sick. It means that you actually can get sick if you worry. So The challenge is, when we do generational talks, at least when I do generational talks, they talk about Gen Xers and Gen Zs and millennials and all this stuff. I basically boil it down to this. There is before social media and after social media, depending where you were born. I have no doubts that those born with social media have a much higher anxiety level than those who were not. For example, when I was growing up, if I wasn't invited to the party, I wouldn't know. Like, I'm thinking like a teenager or maybe like that 7th, 8th grade where you're sensitive, like some dude's having a party, right? And you call your friend and you say, hey, you want remember you had to call on the phone. That was a landline. Remember the rotary? Remember that rotary phone? You'd call them and have to say, hi, Mrs. Jones. You actually had to talk to their parent. I know it's crazy. For those of you who don't know this, you'd call them and say, hey, hello. Oh, is this Mr. Jones? Yes, Mr. Jones. Is John there? Let me get him. Johnny! Right? And then John would pick up a phone in his room if he had one. A lot of phones, there was just maybe two, one upstairs, one down. But if they had one in their room, you'd pick it up and then you'd hear the other one click down. For those of you who don't know. What did that teach me? It taught me in our generation how to talk to people. Doorbells were actually used. You had to ring the bell. Hi, is Johnny home? You had to confront adults, authority, and talk to them. That builds emotional intelligence. Now, let's go back to this whole party thing. I'm invited to the party. I'm 7th or 8th grade, or I'm not invited to the party, and I call my friend. He goes, oh, I can't make it. My mom wants me to clean my room tonight. I can't go out. But the friend is really going to the party. I may never find out, and if I do, it may be weeks later. Today, using Snapchat, I can find out that my friend is at a party and I'm not invited. Oh my gosh, demoralizing, especially at the age of 7th or 8th grade or being a young person, right? Very difficult. These are little immediate gratification that our generations before that never had. You never could just Google it, right? Get information like that. What did we have to do? We had to ask authority. We had to ask authority for the information. Teach me how to write. Not, I'm going to Google it and take a master class in writing, and then I'll just be a writer. We actually had to confront and rely on our managers for the information. Today, I don't need to. Most jobs, I can Google it, right? And so leadership has changed. Also, emotional intelligence has gone way down. It's just, look at the height of anxiety in the world, depression. Now, there are many people that say, I just think we're more aware now. I just think it's okay to talk about, but it was always happening. I'm not saying it wasn't always happening, but I am very convinced that it's exponentially higher. Very convinced. We even have medical conditions to describe a person who's just fine. People would label me as ADHD. Why do I need a mental condition to describe my high energy, high creative ability and want to experience lots of things, never a dull moment, spontaneity, let's go. Why do I need a medical term for that? Or let's do the opposite. ADHD, there's ADHD and then there's what? OCD. Oh, that means I'm really organized and serious and I like things a certain way? Yeah, you're OCD. Why do we need a medical condition for these things? How about bipolar? We use it as if, it's just, oh yeah, you go hot and cold. You must be bipolar. You have multiple personality disorder. These are serious psychological conditions that some people really, really have, and they need medication. And I find it very disrespectful to just label people's gifts as a medical syndrome. I just disagree. I completely disagree. I am unaligned with that type of thinking, and you should be too. We need to celebrate the creatives. We need to celebrate the perfectionists. We need to honor them, funnel them, focus them. And the way we cope with them is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, because what people say they don't mean, write this one down. It's the truth. What people say they don't mean and what they mean they won't say when emotional. What people say they don't mean and what they mean they won't say when they're emotional. Now, sometimes you have no idea if they're emotional or not. For example, if an individual who was previously labeled OCD because of their gift of being focused and serious and being able to put stuff together, you're not OCD. You have a gift, all right? You have a gift of detail. Well, let's say they're not very emotional. Let's say to you, me, big personality, they kind of look like a robot. They're just kind of sitting there, very serious. Give me the facts, Jim. Nothing but the facts, right? Well, if I'm uncomfortable, if I don't have an emotional intelligence in me to realize that individual has a gift of serious focus, and I say something like, why don't you just lighten up? You should have more fun. You know how insulting that is to that individual? You should have more fun. Well, how about reversing that to me? Joe, you should fill out this spreadsheet. You should get all the details. Oh, right. I brush it off. Emotional intelligence, the ability to cope with someone who's very different from you, and not only cope, but accept them, understand them, the ability to be wrong. Okay, so here's something I want you to write down, okay? We're gonna do a little practice on raising your emotional intelligence. I have two scenarios, all right? Scenario number one is driving. I don't know. There's a lot of people out there who are distracted on the road. You know it. I know it. What typically happens when you are cut off righteously while driving, right? You son of a... We raise our fingers and we do all this crazy stuff. Some people even get road rage, right? Oh, you got actually cut off and now you have road rage? I mean, I bet right now you're thinking, yeah, I know this guy who blah, 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 or you yourself go crazy. And what do? You start lambasting this driver for being such an idiot for cutting you off. Now, let's be honest. I think you've cut people off. I know I have. We get distracted. Now you're driving down the road and you cut someone off. Sometimes it's accidentally, and let's be honest, sometimes it's on purpose. But let's assume it's accidental. You're daydreaming, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, and you kind of swerve and you kind of have a line, and what do? Sorry about that. You're sending this thought, right? You're going, sorry, my bad. And they're going, you son of a, right? And then we start that whole thing, this road rage thing. What if you could practice this time? Next time someone cuts you off, I want you to pause. I want you to pause and realize the truth and live in reality. See, emotionally intelligent people don't live in fiction. They live in reality. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what this really means. When someone cuts you off, what this really means is, one, they could be distracted, like you've been distracted, and it was an accident. Number two, there could be an emergency and they have somewhere to go. Maybe they found out their child was in an accident and they're on their way to the hospital. I mean, if you knew that, would you let them go? I don't know of too many people that if they knew this car that's coming on the on-ramp and it's kind of going fast and not really looking at me, and I knew that they had to get to the hospital, I don't know too many people that wouldn't put the brakes on and let the person through. They have somewhere to go more important than you, right? And number three, they're just in a rush and they want to get there. Either way, next time, whatever happens, I challenge you to pause and just think, I wish you well, my friend. I've done the same thing, and I hope all is well. That is an emotional, intelligent response. Not reacting, going, oh my gosh, you son of a... That's reacting. The problem is we're reacting all the time. We're running into business. We're just reacting to data. We're not pausing and saying, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Can you pause and fill up a different thought? And now let's say, how many of you have experienced this? A worker or a coworker comes to work who just got cut off and they want to tell everyone about it. I can't believe I was driving to work and they spent 15 minutes spewing off negative energy about crap, about nothing that is helpful. Think about that. You've experienced it. I've experienced not helpful. So emotional intelligence, that's your challenge. Next time you get cut off, I want you to pause and say, I wish you well, my friend. I wish you well. Number two challenge, I want you to take a piece of card. This is your bold move right now, all right? I'm giving you a bold move. You know, I I want to do bold moves for everyone. And this is a small ask, but a bold move. And here it is. You ready? I want you to take like a nice index card. I don't care if maybe it's a little piece of paper. I don't care. All right. Like I've got one right here. Okay. Like a little card like this. All right. And I want you to write down these words. I might be wrong. Okay. All right. I might be wrong. And then what I want you to do is fold it in half and keep it on you. Put it in your wallet. I got a pocket briefcase here. I want you to carry it with you. And as you carry it with you, I might be wrong. As you go through your day with your family or your employees, I challenge you to pause when you're trying to get a point across and someone has something to say about it. I challenge you to go, instead of thinking, no, you're wrong. I want you to pause and I want you to say, tell me more about that. And think to yourself, I might be wrong. Tell me more about that. And then I want you to take out your card and write down the dates that you were wrong. It's really amazing how relaxing and how truly delightful it is when you find out you're wrong. I'll tell you why. Your thinking you have to be right is stressful. It's so stressful. You got to be the smartest. You got to be the best. You're defending your position all the time. You know what? That's unattractive. That's not real. You don't have to do that. You don't have to expect to know everything. Everyone hates a know-it-all. You hate a know-it-all. So to practice your bold mood, write down on the sheet of paper, I might be wrong, and you will find your anxiety start to drop. I kid you not. I've had hundreds of executives tell me, I can't believe how that simple little thing took the monkey off my back. That's right, because you have advisors around you. You might have a direct report. You might have a team. And when you think I might be wrong, you know what that does? It breaks down silos and it tells people that you are secure enough, you are confident enough to hear a different opinion. And very few people are. Very few people are. The very thing of defensiveness is what creates silos faster than anything. And the only thing to break it down is to raise our emotional intelligence up a couple notches. I'm just asking you to notch it up. Because remember, it's a journey. If you can get a little better tomorrow than you are today, you ratchet it up. You're only trying to beat yourself. You're only trying to beat yourself. And so I've given you two ideas, two things to practice. One, while driving. Wish you well, my friend. Whew. I refuse to take the bait and get sucked into this negative thought about this person, how they're an idiot and all that stuff. Doesn't help. Doesn't help me. Doesn't help your kids in the back seat watching mom or dad spew off. What does that teach your kids? Not helpful. And I know if you're listening to this podcast, I'm guessing you have a level of emotional intelligence because this isn't for your average person. This is for people who want to lead. This is for people who want to scale companies. They want to grow. They want to fully align their team. And you can use this stuff at home. You can fully align your family if you want. It's pretty fundamental. I mean, you can watch our vision podcast. Write it for your family. What's your vision for the family? Read it to the family. This is our vision. This is how we behave. This is what we're going to do. You can do this. This is about life. Fully aligned on everything. It's about life. And emotional intelligence is something you have to teach. If you do not have some sort of emotional intelligence program within your company, get one. People need to learn how to cope. Many people have never learned these things. How do I pause? Is that even an option? You mean I can pause and choose to respond? Yes. The reality is you are in complete control of your thoughts 100% of the time, but you have to practice the muscle. You have to walk away from fear and you have to step right in to reality. And people don't want to do that. How do I step into reality? What do you mean? Everything's real, Joe. I don't understand what you're saying. No, it's not. It's not real. Think about it. A person's going, you say, what do you think of my report? And they go, well, I think it lacks detail. What do you mean it lacks detail? Your brain starts, getting all defensive instead of leaning in and going, tell me more. I might be wrong. Okay, Tell me more. Well, I think this. Oh, that's actually a really good point. I'm glad I listened. Huh. You know what? Thanks for making my report better. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for asking. Why don't you live in that world? That's the reality world where people actually want to help us and they want to give you information, right? This constructive criticism stuff, it's not criticism, it's just information. That's another thing you can practice. Feedback is simply information. It's neither good nor bad. It's neither good nor bad. We'll get into a lot of these subjects because if you're going to become fully aligned, you have to lead yourself first. If you want your team to be fully aligned, you got to shut down the defensiveness. You have to have this idea that you might be wrong, and you have to learn how to pause and respond and shut down the reaction. So that's your bold move. And then, you know what, maybe find a partner, maybe somebody you trust to go, how many want to do this with me? And maybe at the end of the month go, wow, I was wrong 4 times, and that felt great. The stress was there. I didn't have to be stressful. There's no defensiveness. Actually, people loved contributing. They were grateful that I listened. Oh my gosh, this was fantastic. It's the only way to become fully aligned. If you're ready to get fully aligned with your team and want to learn a little bit more how to get started, reach out to me directly. Joe K at Dignify.com. That's Joe K at Dignify.com, or find me on LinkedIn.